Star Wars has officially shared that The Mandalorian will be getting a theatrical release, and we can expect it to go into production very soon. They posted a very short press release that says the following: The Mandalorian and Grogu are embarking on a new adventure to movie theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni, the Mandalorian and Grogu will go into production in 2024. I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created, said Favreau. The prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars two new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen, added Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who is also currently developing Ahsoka Season 2. And then along with that press release, there's just been a few other rumors about The Mandalorian that we can't really be sure whether or not they're actually true. Like Deadline reported that a fourth season of The Mandalorian is still happening, and Making Star Wars has suggested that this Mandalorian film will be the first of a trilogy if it ends up being considered successful at the box office by Disney and Lucasfilm. Making Star Wars has also said that Mando Season 4 will only be 6 episodes long, and the finale will be this Mandalorian movie that Lucasfilm has just announced. But again, that's just a rumor, and we can't be sure if that's what will actually happen. But as for my thoughts on the Mandalorian movie itself, let me just start out by saying that I am extremely excited for this. I've been saying for a while now that Star Wars desperately needs to release a film in theaters to put itself back in the spotlight. I think maybe they saw the success of the Ahsoka screenings in theaters and figured a movie with characters from the Mandoverse would be a huge selling point. And considering how massively popular The Mandalorian has been as a show, I think this could potentially bring in big box office numbers. I mean, even season 3 of The Mandalorian, which took a big drop in quality, was still one of the biggest streaming shows of 2023. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Rey movie was originally meant to be the next theatrical release for Star Wars, but assuming this Mando movie would take its place, I think that will gain a much more positive outlook for the start of this resurgence of Star Wars films, simply because The Mandalorian is almost universally liked by the fandom and general audiences as well. Now, if the working title of this movie is actually The Mandalorian and Grogu, I would hope Lucasfilm rethink that a bit. It might even be worse than Obi-Wan Kenobi for the Kenobi show, if I'm being honest. But anyway, I think if the plan is to have this be the finale of Season 4 and directly connected to Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire film, it could have a very big impact on Star Wars rather than just being a sort of fun one-off adventure. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing some recurring characters like Bo-Katan or Boba Fett, but not at the expense of Din Djarin's own character progression. Season 3 really didn't feel like it did anything for Din's character, and you could even argue it was more of a regression for him. So the most important thing for this Mando film is to see some sort of character arc for Din, or at least the start of it. Jon Favreau will be the director for this film, and I think that makes sense considering he created the character and will therefore oversee his transition to a film. Jon also directed what I think is one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian with The Marshal, first episode of season 2, so I have high hopes for what he can bring to the big screen, especially with an overall higher production value. You know, a film is obviously going to bring a higher budget than a show, so I'd hope to see that used to the right effect. Now, something I always bring up regarding The Mandalorian is, of course, Pedro Pascal. I'm not looking for a lot, but I really think this film needs a few helmetless scenes for both Din's potential character arc, and I think you'll bring more people to the theaters if they know Pedro will actually have scenes in the film. In general, I think this film is a great move for Lucasfilm. It actually seems like they are developing a plan for future Star Wars releases, and that can only benefit them from where they were before. I've always been a huge fan of The Mandalorian, and I can't wait to see Din and Pedro in theaters where Star Wars belongs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.